Yo, 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 what is going on, RoK Fam? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today, finally, I am so excited to be getting back into doing some what I would refer to as additional and extremely valuable RoK content that really has never been done before on, from what I have gathered, more or less kind of any level outside of kind of current creators for what we usually see content wise. And that usually kind of comes down to progression based content, event type content, kind of commander pairings, troop advisement, those types of things. What you will most likely start getting from me, or I should say will in this case, is everything else that is not being covered. A big part of Kingdom Builders, and specifically Rise of Kingdoms, is that the game is about building a kingdom, and therefore managing a kingdom. And this has a lot of moving parts. Anything from diplomacy early on to eventual KVK diplomacy to alliance management, things like tech pass, how do you spread out on the map, when you get into a new kingdom, right? Are you solo? Are you in a group? Are you part of a jumper? How are you recruiting? How are you setting policies? How are you setting standards? How are you managing your kill events? How are you managing your MGEs? How are you educating and informing players? How are you converting them to your Discord? There are a lot of moving pieces that go into what I would really truly refer to successful kingdoms versus kingdoms that are just kind of, trotting along and trying the best that they can, right? These are what I feel are extremely valuable pieces of information and material that, for those who may not know, right, I've played RoK for about 4 years. Recently took a hiatus because I'm also invested into another kingdom builder that I think has a plethora of potential. Though during my time in RoK, where I managed 4 jumper projects, 2 of which were some of the biggest grassroots projects where I ended up recruiting 800 players within a matter of 2 weeks, twice, back to back. 3 out of 4 of my projects successfully went on to win their first KVKs. One of them broke even due just to having to migrate out and then going to a new kingdom where they placed at the middle. But a lot of what went into part of, if not all of those kingdom successes, was the foundation that we put in place. The information that we gave to players, to groups, to alliances, to people in management, from officers to leaders, how we organized our Discord, how we did town hall meetings, how we did management meetings, how we did council lead meetings. All of these things will factor into how successful your journey will be when you start playing Rise of Kingdoms. Now, from this, one of the things, and some of you are probably wondering, why is he just hanging around in this new map, right, on, at least at time of recording this video, the newest server? Because I wanted to talk about what I think is something that is really important to start off with right now. The first video I did is kind of more of an introduction to RoK and, why you would play this game, what can you get out of it. This video is going to be focusing on pretty much what the next step is, right? So you've found some interest in RoK, and now you're deciding, okay, I want to play. But now you have to decide on, do you want to just join a new server as a solo player? Do you want to join a jump project? Or do you possibly want to take door number 3, or door C, and do something really different and valuable for your account, and probably for your mental sanity to a degree as well? And what that is starting out in an older kingdom. Now let me first break down some of the pros and cons on what you're going to experience, on what you may get out of, and reasons why you would do certain things, right? So we have 3 options. 1, you start out in a new kingdom. 2, you join a jumper group. And 3, you start out in Old Kingdom. So we're going to hit these one by one. Let's say you start out in a New Kingdom, which is similar to what you see now on the screen. This is usually what you're seeing, right? Everything is covered in fog. You have to uncover, right? You have each of your zone 1s, which is on the wide outer ring. You have the mid ring here, which is your zone 2. And then you have zone 3, which is the middle, where you have your final capital building. Now, when you start out in a new server, you, as a solo player, right, you pretty much have a few options. And this can be, if you, well, in short, you really probably only have one option. Well, I guess two. You would either make your own alliance, or you're going to join another alliance. But you have to figure out how things are going to play out in your kingdom, right? Now, if as a solo player, you don't really have a lot of leverage, right? You don't have a lot of opportunity to really have a say. Unless you create an alliance and you build that alliance up to be somewhat of a top alliance on the boards. And we can't see that until we're level 8 anyways. And so from this, you would then be able to factor into possible kingdom policies, how things are going to develop, but you also kind of have to be weary of if a jump group is eventually going to come to your server, or to your kingdom in this case. Because if that happens, right, then arguably almost all your efforts could be wasted. Because if a jump group comes in and they have already kind of decided on how kingdom management is going to play out, on how policies will play out, on how they're going to manage this or that, then, right, the only way you can pretty much kind of stay relevant is by continuously building your alliance up, continuously recruiting, and hoping that you can kind of remain yourself in somewhat of a top position, right, somewhere maybe around top 6, top 4, maybe top 9, just depending on how deep they want to go. But I would say for the most part, right, trying to be kind of within that top 4, top 6 range would be more of a minimum target goal. And then this would allow for you as a player, if you choose to lead. Otherwise, if you choose to just play, then all of this is kind of null and void because you're just still learning everything as you go. But what can happen if you go in as a solo player, right? Because again, we're talking about your enjoyment as an individual. What are you going to get out of playing the game? What happens if your server just goes to soil, right? And your soil's ravaged by civil war. Maybe you have 2 opposing jump groups that come in. Maybe you have a jump group that comes in and other people that don't like that a jump group came in, and now they're fighting, right? And now you're just losing your opportunity to develop the server as best as you can in preparation for KVK1 later down the road. Right? What happens if your playing experience, what happens if you just see people arguing or bad-mouthing in your kingdom chat? Right? Maybe that bleeds over into some of your alliance chat. There are so many things. What happens if you just run into rogue whales that are just attacking anyone and everyone because they don't care? They want their alliance to win. What happens if you have a situation where you just have 2 alliances that want to take over everything? One alliance wants to take over everything, right? Regardless of a rogue player or a few rogue players at most. So there are so many things that can go wrong in a new server when there is a void of management, when there is a void of foundation. That is how you are going to have the highest chances, not the only chances, the highest chances of building something stable that can have the opportunity to flourish and last. Now let's talk about what happens if you join as a jumper group, right? What happens if you join a jumper group, okay? So let's say that you decide, all right, I'm going to go ahead and take a look. I will peruse let's just say in short, that you're going to go on the official RoK Discord. And on the official RoK Discord, you're going to look around the recruiting you section. And you're going to just scroll through, okay, we see a few jumper ads here and there. And, maybe what you do is you try just joining a few, right? Maybe you join one, maybe you feel like, okay, you know what, this is okay. Maybe I'll stick with these guys. Maybe you keep looking around, you find a few, right? You join a few, which usually is always my recommendation. And that's mainly because you want to keep your options open, and you also want to be able to interview and vet, so to speak, right? You want to assess how different groups are operating, right? How is their structure? How are they set up? Right? How informative are they? Right? How do they send mails? Are they formatted? Are they organized? Are they easy to read? Is it just a wall of text? Right? Do they do voice meetings? Right? How engaged? Right? Are the people there? Do they actually have a solid game plan, regardless of how many members they have, and you really believe in what they're doing? Right? And maybe that's the group that you want to join. So it's always good just to look around, figure out where you want to go. From here, after you join a jump project, in short, you should really only be joining a jump project for a few reasons, right? And more importantly, following through with the project is that they need to have, in my opinion, a large number of players, right? I would say at least 6 alliances minimum, and somewhere around 30 or so players, maybe somewhere between 30 and 40 per, right? Again, if you're just trying to increase odds, right, as kind of a starter project. And then, again, by having a lot of people, right, and I will say this, if you can have more than 6 alliances, if you could have 12 alliances, if you could have 15 to 18 alliances, even better, right? And some people might sit here thinking to myself, wow, this is crazy talk, boss, crazy talk. Well, what I will say is that I have ran a project where we had 12 alliances, and after a few days, eventually expanded to 15 alliances. There are actually a lot of good reasons on why you want to go in with as many alliances as possible. I would say somewhere between 12 and 16 would be the actual premium mark to hit. Minimum and ideal should be I would say 4 to 6, but I like 6 a little more. Now, at this point, you are really joining a jump project for one of a few reasons. You are doing it because you want to be able to go into a server and have majority presence. You want to have majority control of the server and what you're doing. And this is going to allow for you to dictate things like policy, set standards, set goals, right? Set management restrictions on certain events, right? However you want to go about it. The idea is to have a large enough of a presence where you can act as a deterrent against rogue players, rogue alliances, and these will create advantages for you that you will set from day one. It doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily go around and bully people, right? And that obviously is up to each group on how they want to act. But by having enough people in there and a good enough game plan, these are things as new players you need to pay attention to in order for you, again, which is the topic of this video, to have a good overall playing experience, right? You don't want to waste a month, 2 months, 3 months of your life, a year of your life playing RoK just because you're devoid or just not seeing the signs that are in front of you because maybe you just don't know how to interpret them yet, right? Because you're a new player. So hopefully these will be certain signs and certain good cues that you will look out for before you decide to join a project, but more importantly, following through with that project. Always keep your options open. Now, let's get into the third and last thing, which is joining an older server. Let me scroll down here to my previous old school main. So we're going to head over just to an older server that I just have a main account in, or I should say a very old main account that hasn't been played for about a year now, but there's going to be a lot of good things I'm going to talk about on why I truly believe that the best option, if you are not able to find a good jump project to join, is to join an older server. Now, some of the main reasons why you would want to join an older server, and I'm going to show this to you starting with, let me just zoom out of the map real quick. Shout out to the old school LG fam from 1196, by the way. But let me just show a few things here, right? So in an older server, most of the time, things have already kind of calmed down to a certain degree where you are most likely not just going to have whales running rampant or rogue players running rampant. Because of this, they will be more stable than an arguably newer server where there is just so much unknown, right? Unless there's a few other things that happen that we've touched on. So by you going to an older server, just from this, you are safeguarded, meaning some of your resources and other things are going to be saved, allowing you to develop your account at a faster pace. if you go to an older server, the second thing is that you're going to be able to hopefully join a older alliance. What this means, and I'll give you an example, right? So almost every server has open alliances that you can join. Here is an example of one server, right, in 1196. They have an alliance that is open to join, and if I go to the tech tree, pretty much everything is already maxed out, right? And I'll just show you real quick, right? And this is just one alliance. I'm sure other servers have this as well. And so you can see here, everything's maxed out. I, as an individual player, am going to be able to benefit from this and when it comes to progressing my account faster. So again, speed up time, I'll be able to get from that, city construction, things like building speed, research upgrade, gathering speed, troop healing, additional research upgrade, commander techs, gathering techs. Coming over here to, we'll just go to war to keep it simple, right? Increasing attack, defense for my different troop types. Right, being able to rally faster, right? Again, all of these things, even territory guardian, right? That you're going to be able. Again, some of these things will help out as well. For the most part, for you as a player, development and war are going to be your biggest assets. But because of this, right, with upgraded building and research speed, you're going to be able to upgrade, get to level 25 faster. You're going to be able to upgrade academy techs that much faster. You'll be able to benefit from training higher tier troops by just them being stronger from the alliance tech boost that you're going to get all around. These are a lot of benefits that I should say that you would enjoy by joining an older server. So again, just keep in mind, these are really important things that you as a player can do. Now, let's say you join an older server and you might be asking yourself, well, boss, why would I join an older server if I really want to play in a newer server, right? Or maybe you want to enjoy some other things. So you really have two options here, right? Two branch options from joining an older server. You can either stay in the older server, especially if it's a server that you've scouted, you've done some research on, and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? This is a great server. I really love what they're about. I really believe in what their goal is. I'm going to develop my account as fast as I possibly can so I can eventually contribute over a period of time. Or you can use it as a staging server, right? You join an older server just to develop your account, and then you eventually migrate it out, right? It doesn't mean that you're not contributing. It doesn't mean that you're not there helping them out in events, right? So they don't really have anything to lose, but you can use it in that way as well, right? Because remember, the idea is to, right, as a new player, you want to get to Castle 25, you want to eventually get to T5 as fast as you can. So why not start out ahead? This is very similar to the jumping mindset on why jumper groups really started out in the first place, right? They want to get ahead before they go into a new server. The only difference is that they're trying to establish some form of a large enough presence in a management system to where they can have a say in how things are going. So that is it for me. I hope that this video really helped clarifying some of those things for any of you new RoK players, even some of you potential veterans. And I would love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. That is it for me. I'm out. Until next time, we'll catch y'all later.